Alright guys, welcome back to the Strength Enhanced Fitness channel. Today we are doing a full body total stretch. We're going to be stretching all of the major muscle groups in about 30 minutes or less. Let's get right into it. Alright, before we begin we have to warm up. You don't want to stretch a cold muscle. I'm sure you've all heard that before, so we're going to start with some knee up jogs. So this is warming up your hip flexors. It's warming up your quads, your calves, all the muscles of your leg. This is going to be a really good routine if you want to maintain general flexibility and range of motion. And I'm going to be showing you, let's switch to butt kickers now. I'm going to be showing you and telling you exactly how to stretch specific muscles. If you're experiencing pain, stretching is always a good idea as long as it's done well, and so that's why I'm going to show you this today. Alright, so now these butt kickers are warming up our hamstrings. Let's switch now to jumping jacks. So the question is, how long do you want to warm up before you start stretching? Well, I would recommend about 5 minutes. Because this is not a warm-up video, I'm only going to do a little bit. Besides, I've warmed up a little bit before this video started. But you get the general idea. You just want to get your body moving. Alright, now we're going to do some forward arm circles. One thing to note about a warm-up, it's not just something that makes your body warm so that you prevent injury when you stretch. It also makes your stretching better. The warmer your muscles are, the better they can stretch and the farther they can go out. So if you jump rope for 10 minutes and then try to do your splits, it'll be much more effective than just doing 5 minutes of stretching and then trying to go for those splits. Alright, let's go backwards now. And yes, we will be doing the splits today. Alright, let's go crisscross. As a gymnastics instructor, I have done this same routine hundreds of times. I have taught kids how to do it. I have shown them proper form, and I have seen good results from it. One arm across. Very good. Because when you think gymnastics, you think flexibility, right? You'll notice I don't have my splits myself, because I don't do it as often as I make my kids do it, but that's okay. That's why I'm making this video, so that we can all work together. Alright, one arm across, switch sides. So I don't know who you are. I don't know what your goals are and why you're stretching. It could be to relieve pain. It could be to do better in a sport. It could just be you're having a rough day and you feel like you want to stretch. But this is going to be helpful for all of you. It's going to make your body feel really, really good. So we're going to go one arm up over your head and pull down. You want to try to pull that hand as far down your back as you can, putting a nice stretch on that shoulder joint. Very good. Let's switch now. Other side. So, why do we stretch? Why would someone other than an athlete need to stretch? That's a good question. But before I get to that, I have to tell you a little secret. I'm going to be telling you how I structure this stretching session. And this is based on the best science that I could find and that seems reasonable. So, how we're going to be stretching is we're going to stretch small muscle groups first. When you stretch the small muscle groups, it allows for the larger muscle groups that are attached to that group to stretch farther themselves. If you try to start with the big ones and then go to small ones, the big ones really don't get a good stretch because all of those other smaller joints and muscles and tendons are keeping that big muscle group from getting its full stretch. And so you'll notice that we're going to start with little joints like the wrists and ankles, and then we'll move on to the bigger ones. and we'll end up with our splits at the end. So we're gonna get down on the ground and we're gonna do our wrists first. So I'm gonna turn sideways, you can see me. So fingers facing forward, you're gonna lean forward on straight elbows. Feel that nice pull in the back of the forearm. Good. So back to the question, why would anyone stretch? Well, when you move, anytime you move, that is the muscles working. And anytime that your muscles work, let's flip it around backwards, they get tight. That's just what happens. So let's just think about it. If you are lifting a box, you're using your biceps, you're using your shoulders to lift that box. Those things are going to get tight. If you don't stretch them in the opposite direction, straightening your arms and lowering them, then they're going to remain tight in general. Upside down now, so fingers facing back at yourself. This is not always as pronounced as how I'm making it sound, because most of the time your arms hang by your side, right? So those biceps are not going to get tight in that way. However, there are certain things, let's roll our wrists out. There are certain things like your hip flexors that are in a constant contracted position when you're sitting. So if you sit at a desk, those muscles are constantly contracted. They don't have a chance to be extended by the buttocks. And so those are chronically tight. And that's why people experience a lot of back pain, because their hips are hinged at that joint and it's pulling on the back muscles. And so I'll explain that a little bit as we continue. So now you're gonna hike one foot up, your knee is up in the air, and this is kind of an interesting stretch. This is the front of your foot. So you can see that I've got my toes curled under my foot, my knee is up in the air. This is stretching that ankle joint. Very good. Let's go ahead and switch now. You'll also notice that I'm doing this without a timer. Okay, some people might think that that's wrong, but the thing about it is that stretching is not so clear cut. It's not so, you don't have to do it an exact amount of time. You really want to just do more than 10 seconds. If you're stretching under 10 seconds, it's not going to be a very effective stretch. Okay, so now we've got the tops of feet, so now we're going to get the bottoms of our feet, our Achilles. So we're going to stretch out, and you're going to try to lay that heel on the ground. Lay the heel on the ground, make sure that the leg is totally straight. If it's not straight like this, right here, then it's not getting all the way down to that Achilles. Very good. And let's go ahead and switch now. Other foot. Very good. Nice. Something funny though about your body is that you cannot trick it into stretching for a shorter amount of time. When you're doing this kind of stretch, you can't trick it by doing only 5 to 8 seconds. I'll explain that in a second. We're gonna go into, you know what, we're gonna go pike. So you're gonna put your feet together. You're going to stand up very, very tall. I like to reach up to the ceiling. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna hinge at the hips and we're gonna reach down to our legs here. You don't wanna bend your back. That can cause back pain. And so we're just hinged at the hips right here, and we're just kind of letting our arms dangle. You can even rest them on your calves if you need to, or your knees. Just holding this until we feel a nice stretch. Very good. Let's go ahead. We're going to do one more type of stretch for the hamstrings standing. You're going to stick one foot out and hike that foot up. All right? Then you're going to bend the back knee so that it's level with the other knee, and you're going to reach and grab that foot. And this is another great one for that calf. So I kind of broke my own rule. The stretch that we just did, the pike, that's more so for your hamstrings. This one is more so for your calves. But I know that we're going to be doing a lot more hamstring stretches in the future, so that's okay for this point. All right, now we're gonna switch, other side. Make sure those knees are level with each other. So I was a dancer for many years, and I really wanted to achieve my splits. And so I started doing this routine myself that I would make my gymnasts do. And I was very, very close at one point to achieving those splits. Now the splits are not for everyone. Let's go into a sumo split here. Splits are not for everyone. A lot of people don't need their splits. If you're not a dancer, if you're not a gymnast, you don't really need your splits. However, if that is your goal, this will help you to get to that goal. So this is opening up those hip flexors here, opening up the interior muscles, the adductor muscles, the ones that bring your leg to the inside of your body. Very good. All right, now let's go down to one side. We're gonna flex one knee, or one foot, and we're going to reach with the opposite arm. This stretch is kind of nice because it opens up your lats, so the muscles that are right under your shoulder. So we're getting kind of a double stretch, upper body and lower body. You should feel a stretch running all the way up from your heel, basically, to your butt, basically. And let's go ahead and switch. Same thing, flex, reach. And you can kind of overdo it with the shoulder, like really pull out of that lat area so that you're forcing that good stretch. Because if you just kind of sit here and do this, it won't really stretch it. You want to over rotate, you want to over reach. Very good. And then I like to have my guys go back and forth for just a little bit more of that opening. Very nice. All right, so now we're gonna hop down. We're gonna sit in our pike. All right, this is a little bit of a different version than the standing pike. I'm gonna sit sideways here. Let's point our toes, and we're going to reach forward. Very nice. So this is for dancers and gymnasts. I'm gonna give you a little tip. When you are stretching, depending on what type of flexion is happening in your feet, it's gonna stretch differently. So if you are in, or let's say you're a diver. Divers have to have pointed toes and they have to be in a tight pike, right? When you stretch like this, you are stretching your proper position. If you stretch like this, you will get a different type of flexibility. So that's what we're gonna do now, is we're gonna flex our feet and reach. So this is not what a diver necessarily would want to stretch. They would want to stretch in that pointed toe position because that is the position that their body will be making in space. It's the position that they're going to be graded on. And so you want to make sure that you're flexible in that position because anytime that you change how your body flexes, it changes the stretch that you need. Very good. So this is a great stretch. I love this one. And notice, you want to keep your chest up, just like we did when we were in our standing pike. You don't want to lean forward necessarily because that can put a lot of extra stress that's not needed on your back. Okay, now we're going to go into a straddle position. So we're going to spread our legs way, way out. We're going to point our toes and then we're going to do flex feet again. So we're going to reach over our head and scoop one arm under like this. So this is another lat stretch, which is great. It's also a little bit of your obliques and your lower back too. Really want to squeeze those knees, push them down to the ground. Let's go ahead and reach to the other side. So, what was I talking about earlier with not being able to trick your body? Let me explain that. So inside of your tendons, there is something called the Golgi tendon organ. Let's go ahead and flex our feet now. We're gonna reach over our head and see if we can grab that foot. The Golgi tendon organ is responsible for protecting your muscles when they're put under a load. So anytime that you, let's say, pick up a heavy weight, and you start to lift it, your Golgi tendon organ is gonna sense that stretch on the muscle just from holding the weight. There we go. And what it's gonna do is that it's going to say to your nervous system, hey, I'm not sure we can hold this weight. We may need to relax a little bit. And so after about 8 seconds of serious tension on whatever muscle is being used, that muscle will relax. And so when you're stretching and you're putting a lot of tension by the weight of your body or by gravity, your body is gonna say, hey, I'm gonna keep this tight for a certain amount of time, but then I need to relax. And so once about 8 seconds passes, that Golgi tendon relaxes. And that's when you're able to actually stretch and increase mobility and flexibility, but only after that, it's debated, but it's commonly seen as about a 6 to 8 second window. So you have to stretch for at least that long, and then after that, then you can push yourself into deeper and deeper levels of flexibility. So that's why I say you cannot force the stretch. All right, and let's reach into the middle now. This is our full straddle. Really great for your hips. You can also keep flexing so that you can get a little bit of a stretch in your calves. Very nice, very nice. All right, let's go ahead. We're gonna put our feet together now. This is the butterfly, the one that the kids all love, especially the young ones. You wanna pull those feet as close to yourself as you can, and then you're going to push your knees down to the ground with either your elbows or if you're flexible enough with your hands. So we're just gonna hold this position. So as you can see, there are hundreds and hundreds of stretches that you could do just based on the different directions that the muscle fibers run. Because, like I said, we're gonna stretch all the main muscle groups, but we're not gonna stretch them fully. That would take a really long time. And so, like I said, just by flexing or pointing a certain joint, it's gonna change how the stretch works. And just by rotating an arm or a leg like that, it's gonna change how the muscle works. And we're going to drop down now. We're gonna try to smell our feet. Put your nose between your toes. Very good. If you're not flexible enough for this one, it's okay if you open your hips up a little bit, scoot your feet out like that. And again, even if you tried it now, and you are flexible enough for the first one, you can tell that this is a very, very different stretch. It's getting at those glute muscles in a different way. All right, come on up. We're gonna go into our lunge now. So our legs and our hips are starting to get pretty thoroughly warmed up. All right, so we're gonna come into a seal position. We want to get our hips into extension because so far they've pretty much just been in flexion like this. So we're gonna go into our seal. Very nice. We're gonna push up out of our shoulders. I like to put my heels together. It looks nice. We're going to try to get a nice deep arch in that back. You don't want to overdo this one. This one should be relaxing. If it hurts, just come down. This is called a cobra. You can stretch it this way. But otherwise, if you're flexible enough, try the full seal. All right, now we're gonna go into a side seal, like this. Puts a nice long stretch onto the underside. This is kind of your lower back, your obliques. Very good. Just hold in that position. Don't be afraid to look kind of silly when you're stretching. Almost look like the Little Mermaid here. Very good, we're gonna switch sides. Hold in that position. All right, next one, and this is probably my favorite one. We're gonna do the T-stretch. All right, it's called the T-stretch because your body is going to look like the letter T, basically, as you go into it. So you're gonna lay on your back. Hopefully I have enough room to show this one properly. You're gonna lay on your back. I would spread my arms out, normally, fully. Lift one leg, and then you're going to drop it over to one side. You can do this with a straight knee, or you can do it with a bent knee. And one of the reasons that I love this one is my back always cracks when I do it, and it feels so good. All right, so I'm gonna take my head, and I'm gonna turn it the opposite way of my leg. That puts a nice stretch on the neck and on the back muscles, leading all the way down to that leg joint. Very nice. Oh, it's so relaxing. And then I switch. I'm gonna hop out a little bit, move over like this. Oh, there you go. This is also opening up those shoulders, you can feel. Turn that head the opposite way. Very nice. All right, I'm gonna come on up. Next one, we're gonna put those hands back. This is for our shoulders. All right, this one is a little bit dicey. All right, some people are gonna be able to do this really well, some people are not, but that's okay. So we're gonna try to put our pinky fingers together, and then from there, you wanna scoot your legs out until you have a stretch on that shoulder. And then you lay your head back. And you wanna sink into it, you wanna relax. If you cannot touch your fingers to each other, that is fine. Just spread them out a little bit. You do not want to overdo this one. Your shoulders are, they're a strong joint, but they're not like a knee or an elbow. You don't want to overdo this one. So let's go and switch like this. Go ahead, yes. Very nice. Like I said, getting at all those major muscle groups. All right, next one. This is also for the shoulders, and then we'll be going back to the legs here in a second. We're gonna stretch this arm through, we're gonna snake it through our body and lay on it. It should be a straight arm, and the other one should be straight up. So I'll actually flip like this. There we go. That way you can see. Very nice. Let's go ahead and switch. All right, and now, another favorite of mine, we're gonna roll over this arm. So you're gonna take that arm, slide it out, roll over backwards onto that arm, and throw the other arm over your back. This is starting to get at the chest muscle, which is a little bit harder to stretch. The only way that you can do it is really by pulling those shoulders back behind your back. So sometimes people need a friend to help them out. Let's go ahead and switch. Very nice, very nice. All right, let's come on up. We're gonna do our glute stretches now. Very, very important. This is gonna help open up our hips again for our splits. There we go. So we're gonna take that knee and we're gonna push it forward. So you've got one of your feet hooked on your other knee, and then you wanna take the knee that's out and push it forward. There we go, and let's go over. This is called a figure eight. We're gonna take our elbow, and we're gonna push that knee back behind our body as best we can, getting a full stretch on the glute here. Very, very nice. At this point, I hope that you're feeling very loose. Let's go ahead and switch. You might find that you're going down deeper in your splits than you ever have before. Very good. So like I said, not just for athletes. This is for anyone who uses their muscles. It can be lifters, it can be dancers, it could be baseball players, it could be anybody. Everybody uses their muscles. Push your knee back, and so everybody has to stretch them. Some people stretch them without even knowing that they're doing it. You know, you wake up in the morning and you yawn and you stretch those shoulders. That's just an innate response that your body does, knowing that, hey, I really need to stretch. Probably not stretching as much as you might need to, especially if you're experiencing that pain in your lower back or in your shoulders or where I was talking about. All right, so now we're gonna finally get into those splits. We're gonna take one knee, we're gonna push it out, and we're gonna drive the hips forward like this. Very nice. This is stretching the hamstrings, right here. It's stretching the other side where your hip flexors are. I'll show you that when I switch. Very nice. All right, let's go ahead and push this leg straight, and we're going to lower our head down to our knee. You want your hips to be directly above the knee that's on the ground. Very nice. Got some fuzz on my sock. All right, now we're going to slide into our splits. So we're going to keep this toe pointed because it looks nice, and we're going to stretch out our legs like this. How far am I down? Oh, I'm close. I'm sort of close. So with this one, a lot of people do this. In my opinion, wrong. So there's two different kinds of splits. I'll show you when I switch legs, but there's something called a dancer's split, and then there's something called a gymnastic split. I'm doing a gymnastic split, and what that means is basically my knee is facing the ground. A dancer's split is with your knee facing outward, okay? And to be honest, neither one of them is technically wrong, but I think that the gymnastic split looks nicer, and dancer split is just another way of doing it. Like I said, if you rotate a limb, it's going to change how you stretch. So I've got my back pinky toe planted on the ground, all right? So I can basically feel the ground with my back pinky toe, and my front knee is facing up. And you'll notice that we've been in this for a while. Very nice. All right, let's come on out. We're going to give one more stretch here. This is the pigeon right here. So you're going to take that knee and you're going to slide it onto the inside. Very nice. You can either do this up or you can go down like this, whichever one feels better to you. All right, so now I'm going to come on up. We're going to switch sides now. Lunging step, hips forward and down, chest up. You don't want that chest to be down like this. All right, some people like to do this because it's more relaxing, but what that does is that actually puts the hip back into flexion rather than extension like this, and basically mitigates the entire stretch. So you don't want to do that. Very nice. Let's straighten that leg out. Lower your head. I like to reach over with my opposite arm just to get another lat stretch in. Very nice. You can feel that hamstring stretching out. Okay, here comes the other split. Ready? We're gonna slide it out. Very nice. Yeah, see? I was a lot closer before. So, what I was talking about, that dancer split. So hopefully you can see my toe, my back toe, and my back knee are facing the ground. All right, if I were to do a dancer split, it would look like this. You see that? Where my knee is turned out? And it's just, I don't know, it's just weird. I don't really like it. So I like to keep my chest facing forward, completely straight. And if that means I have to sacrifice a little bit of flexibility for the sake of how it looks and how it feels, that's fine with me. But I'm not too impressed with the dancer split. Very nice. All right, let's go ahead. And let's go to the side. And that's not to say anything bad about dancers. Like I said, I was a dancer. I have dancers in my family, but gymnastic split looks better. Very nice. Holding that pigeon, as we call it. All right, let's go into Sleepy Frog. This is the one that's gonna warm us up for our middle splits, okay? All right, so here we are. We're in our Sleepy Frog. Hopefully you can see again. My hips are directly in line with my knees going out, and my forearms are resting on the ground. You can also do it on your chest like this. Just holding that position. You want to try to push those hips down to the ground as much as you can. Very good, very good. All right, let's come on up. Let's do the middle split. So again, there are two types of middle splits. There's one where your knees are facing forward, one where your knees are facing up. Doesn't really matter to me necessarily. I just like to do my knees facing up toward the ceiling. So I'm gonna turn my knees basically completely out. My toes are gonna be pointed, woo, as I go down. There we go. And there's my middle split right there. So your hips should be in line with your toes, which should be pointed. Holding yourself up on your hands, or again, on your elbows or your shoulders or your chest. Holding, holding, holding. Stretching feels good. So, a lot of people hate to stretch because they think it doesn't feel good. It's painful to begin with. And that is actually true. The more that you stretch, the more that your body becomes used to stretching. Just like with working out, just like with anything unpleasant really, your body becomes used to it, and then it actually starts to crave it, and it likes it. And so, don't be discouraged if the first time you watch this video and do the stretches, you're hurt and you don't want to do it again. So, let's go into the last stretch, the final stretch for this video. This is one that a family member who is also a dancer taught me, and I was experiencing extreme pain when I was trying to do my middle splits. And she said, well, maybe you need to try this stretch. And so I call it the Indian sit. What you're gonna do is you're gonna create like a triangle with your hips and your legs. So you got one knee and one leg out, and then you're basically gonna plaster your other leg on top of it in the same thing. So you're making a nice triangle, okay? And then you wanna push this knee down toward your heel that's on the ground. And that is a nice stretch right in here, right in your hips. You can feel it. And this, honestly, if any of you dancers or gymnasts are experiencing extreme pain when you do your middle splits, for whatever reason, try this stretch, because it did wonders for me. Good, and let's go ahead and switch. Final stretch. Oh. Well, thank you all for watching. I hope that this has been helpful. I hope that it's been educational and interesting, and I hope that you'll come back and you'll watch it again and again and again until you have achieved whatever flexibility you're trying to achieve. Thank you all for watching the Strength Enhanced Fitness channel. I appreciate you guys. Look forward to the next video, and leave me some comments about what videos you want to see next. You can like, subscribe. Appreciate you guys. Love ya. We'll see you next time.